in our journey, we notice that there's a level of intensity to our human experience, and we craft identities to try to feel like we're good enough, that we're worthy. This is something that happens for everyone. There's a core belief in the human mind of I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. Now, this isn't the truth, but it's within every human mind. And so in our journey, starting at a very young age, we start to believe this thought and craft identities to counter this core belief. And we tend to then get captured in these identities. Well, there comes a point in the journey of life for some where we start wondering, who am I really? And this particular question, who am I really, is a question I began asking myself years and years ago, decades ago, when I was inspired by an invitation from one of the teachers that I journeyed with, who had come from a lineage where this was one of the main practices that was invited. In Tamil, this language that's spoken in certain parts of India, the practice is called Nan Yar. So if we transliterate from Tamil to English, Nan Yar would be spelled N-A-N, and then the second word Y-A-R, Nan Yar. In Tamil, Nan means I, and Yar means who. So if we were to transliterate it literally, it would simply be I who? In this practice, Nan Yar, that goes way, way back, you were invited to consider this, inquire into the nature of the I. Now, this I, as I mentioned earlier, tends to gather up all kinds of identities. Well, who am I really? Underneath all the identities that I've picked up, who am I really? And this story goes all the way back to the late 1800s in India, in the area of India that's referred to as Tamil Nadu. And there was a 15-year-old boy who, due to some family members that had passed away, became overwhelmed with the fear of death. And this very intuitive, very wise young 15-year-old boy realized that he couldn't avoid this fear. It had overcome him, and he was so overwhelmed. And he realized he had to turn toward it rather than running from it or distracting from it. So he laid down on the floor and simulated the stiffness of the body that we call rigor mortis, and put his hands over his nose and mouth and simulated death. Had a death experience, they say. And in that experience, he realized from his direct experience that there's an essence that we all are that can't die. This, in Sanskrit, we would call Atma, A-T-M-A, Atma, the unique expression that each of us is of the inherent source essence that is the elegant wholeness. Each of us is a unique expression of that spiritual essence, the Atma in Sanskrit. Well, when this happened for this 15-year-old boy, he then dedicated his life to exploring this truth, this eternal truth within all of us. And he had heard there was a sacred hill that you could go be in the energy of this area and feel very strongly this source energy that everything is an expression of. So he went there and cut off all his hair, took off all his clothes, fashioned a loincloth from his clothes, and sat in a cave and gave his attention moment to moment to moment to this essence, in Sanskrit, the Atma, our eternal true nature. And we can only imagine what he was having to face sitting there in that cave. Whatever, if more fears came or worries or whatever was happening in his mind, we can only imagine what were his practices. Well, people started to notice this young boy, and they found when they would sit with him, they could relax into a very deep state of consciousness. Samadhi, the state of consciousness where you're no longer experiencing reality through the limits of the mind and the illusion of separation. You're experiencing reality in Hridayam, the heart of being, the elegant wholeness, resting in the heart essence that isn't limited by the mind. And so, as they would sit with him, they noticed they could relax into this state of samadhi. And the way this story was shared to me is that for 10 years, they looked after him and made sure he was, fed and taken care of. And in this land, they honor a being that dedicates their life to the spiritual quest. And every now and then they would ask this young boy a question, and he never spoke for 10 years. And then one day, one of the people that was a part of this group that would sit with him wondered, maybe he'll reply if we write a question. So they got some paper and a pencil, and they wrote in Tamil, they all spoke Tamil, Nan Yar. I, who? The way we might say it is, who am I really? And the way the story is often told is that he then was willing to reply to that. And they say that he, with his finger in the sand, in Tamil, wrote a reply to I who. Nan Yar, he wrote Arive Nan. So we know Nan means I. So what is Arive? Arive in Tamil would be brought over as consciousness itself. Arive comes from Arivu, and in Tamil, Arivu means many things, but the way it would be being used here would be consciousness, just pure consciousness, would be Arivu. When it becomes Arive, there's a little subtle nuance. Arive is consciousness itself, is the I. So his reply to them was, consciousness itself is the I, our true nature. Atma in Sanskrit, our true essence. Arive Nan, consciousness itself is the I. We all are unique expressions of that pure consciousness itself. So when I heard this, I was very inspired, and I would sit and just ask myself, who am I really? And I found that it would drop my attention back. Let's say in that moment I was identified as Mitch, who's upset that something didn't go his way. Let's say I'm captured in my wanter. And often I found if I just sat and was available to whatever the disturbance was, honor it, let it be felt in my body. And then I would often then include, I would say, who am I really? And I noticed it would drop my attention back into that I am that's aware of the disturbance. Pure, absolute, eternal essence, aware of the disturbance or aware of the mind. So in all of these practices that I invite you all into, there's a way where we're over and over changing where we're putting our attention. When we're having a feeling, we honor the feeling. We're not going to bypass the feeling. We're going to completely honor it in the living practice, directly experience it. Then once we're really allowing that experience to be directly, fully felt without avoiding it, without trying to figure it out or solve it or change it, then we can rest back into what we are that's aware of that feeling. Honoring all that we are. We are the body. Temporarily, we're experiencing this body. We've chosen to experience these bodies and all that comes with that, all the emotions, all the wanter dynamics. And there is this awareness that we are that is not limited to the sensation in the body, the emotion, or the body, or the thoughts, or the situation, or the circumstance. So I had been exploring this playful addition to the various practices that I found beneficial. This that in Tamil is called Nan Yar, I who. In Sanskrit, it's called Atma Vichara. Atma, our unique expression of the source essence, and Vichara means inquiry, giving your attention, looking into, being available to, shifting your attention to the Atma, Atma Vichara. It's a practice of bringing your attention to see what is it that you are that isn't being affected by whatever it is that's occurring. We're not denying the occurrences. We're not saying they're not real. We're not saying that the world is an illusion at all. We're saying everything is a unique expression of the elegant wholeness. All of it is real. Some of it is temporary vibration, like the human body and all the emotions and all the trees and animals and planets, all temporary vibrations, unique expressions of that source essence. We also refer to this sometimes as Shiva. We sometimes refer to this source as Chitti Shakti. And so, as I had been exploring this, one day I noticed someone that I was exploring with was very much caught up in their identities, and they were taking notes as they were sitting with me. They had a journal and they were taking notes, and they had just turned to a new page in their journal. And I just spontaneously said to them, okay, I invite you with your pen there on your paper on the top left, write the word I, capital I, and then the word am, and then put a blank line to the right, because their book was a sketchbook. There were no lines. So they wrote I am, and then they did a blank line. And they said, well, what do I put in the blank line? I said, wait, before we put anything in the blank line, do that a few more times down your page. Do the I am, and then another blank line to the right, sort of a place where you're going to put something in, and do several of those. So she put several of those down the page. I am and the blank line. I am and the blank line. She basically filled up the whole page all the way down. And I was watching her do this, and I was like, oh, wow, she's ready to go here. Well, let's see what happens. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't even know why I was doing this. It just spontaneously came in the moment. And then she looked at me and I said, okay, so who are you? She said, I am a mom. I said, okay, put that in the line to the right. She wrote the word mom. I am a mom. Then she looked at me and I said, who are you? And she was a little bit puzzled. And then she realized, oh, I am a woman. So she wrote, woman. Who are you? A sister. Who are you? A friend. Who are you? I am a hard worker. Who are you? I am a businesswoman. Who are you? I am a seeker. Who are you? I am sometimes frustrated. Who are you? We just kept going. And then all of the various roles and emotions and experiences just kept coming. And we ended up, she did a couple of pages of the I am and then various things on the right, all the various roles and identities and gender and even human and all the things. And then it kind of winded its way down after a few pages of these identities. And then I looked at her and I said, so each one of those things to the right of the I am, are you always any of those? She said, well, I'm always a woman. I'm always a human. I said, oh, well, what about when you die? Will you still be a woman? Will you still be a human? She's like, oh, no. Well, who are you really? She paused, closed her eyes, and then got a little grin on her face, and she opened her eyes and she said, she pointed to the I am to the left of the page. She said, this, I'm always this. I'm always the I am. And we belly laughed at this realization. And I said, yeah, pure, eternal, true nature, your Atma, your true essence, that you are that can't die, can't even age, that you've always been and you will always be. And it is that eternal essence that is lighting up all these other identities, your humanness, your roles, your gender, your sensations, your emotions. You'll always be the I am, pure essence that is inherently at peace, accepting, at ease, inherently content, has no dilemma, has no worries, is eternal, is kind, playful, creative, silly, compassionate, patient, understanding, inherently, absolutely, unconditionally loving. With each in-breath and with each out-breath, we can be available to this play of perspectives. Are we pulled into one of the identities? If so, then we get to experience reality from within the perspective of that identity. The practices that I invite you all to explore give us a chance to ever more experience our eternal true nature that is at peace, is at ease, is this accepting presence. Sometimes we're just abiding in that neutral presence, like in the name that thought practice, when I invite you to name the thought and then rest back You're just resting back into that pure, neutral, observing presence. And sometimes when we're just resting in that neutral presence that we are, we wouldn't say that we're necessarily experiencing joy or love or anything like that. We're just sort of a neutral presence. So sometimes we experience our true nature as just a pure witness consciousness. And then sometimes we experience our true nature from that we are, that is mudita, uncaused joy, shanti, inherent peacefulness, chidaikya, chitti oneness, we're aware of our oneness, acceptance. Sometimes we're experiencing our true nature from that absolute unconditional love that we are, which we can so wonderfully get in touch with the loving blessing practice. So this practice, Nan Yar, I who, also referred to as Atma Vichara, giving our attention to the Atma that we are. The way that I did it in English was, who am I really? As a way to, it always felt to me like the word really would drop me back deep into that pure, eternal essence. And then, little by little, through a combination of these practices, we can ever more experience ease and contentment, joy and wonder and creativity and playfulness and unconditional love. And it becomes ever more clear to us that we have chosen to come here and explore this dynamic play of the characteristics of the wanter dynamics. And we will always be these eternal beings that have chosen to create this playground in which we're exploring this illusion of separation, this divine theater in which we forget that we are an eternal being and we get identified as the character that we're getting to experience and whatever roles we play within this character. And none of that is wrong or bad. We're exploring this. And within this land of forgetting, we can remember again that we are a unique expression of the heart of being. Yeah.